I'm Sean Fennessy.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is The Big Picture, a conversation show about 2002. Chris Ryan, CR, is here. We're drafting again. Chris, are you ready to draft today?
I am, but I also want to find out which Inside Out emotion am I?
Well, I have some thoughts about that for you. We are going to get into our draft. Interesting movie year, but a lot of news has happened. The box office is back, Amanda. We did it again.
I'm not listening to you. I'm just thinking about which emotion he is.
Joy?
Of the existing emotions in the film?
Yeah.
Well, I saw the film for a second time this weekend, and I've given this a lot of thought because Alice's new favorite thing to do is sit in my lap while I hold the phone up and we play the score from the movie so she can see the animations from the movie on Spotify. And this is a very unfun thing to do, let me tell you. You're not sadness.
I'm sure, no. I sure am not.
You are not fear. You are not ennui.
Eroticism? That's
not
it.
Not introduced yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think that's a feeling.
Yeah. It's probably most closely aligned with what we think were the hormones, which are portrayed as like a construction crew that comes and just demos.
I remember the first one.
And that no, this is in the second one.
Film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she experiences like the puberty siren goes off.
Oh, yeah.
And then a bunch of chaotic little blue people that are construction workers come and demo Riley's inside emotional world and then leave.
I don't think there's a corresponding emotion in the film for the essence that you bring.
Okay. What about you?
I mean, a little bit.
I've got a little anxiety. I've got a little joy. Depends on the day.
Yeah.
Excuse
me? When the box office numbers are the way they are, do you have joy?
I'm the boss of my own body. What are you talking about? I'm total personal independence. I'm doing great.
That doesn't have anything to do with joy.
Your version of joy is very narrow and very small.
Okay.
You just want to go to Europe and drink. That's all you want to do. I got so many versions of joy. You can't even fathom the numbers of joy I have.
And you enjoy and you do enjoy everything. That is like you're a
I can't say
man
that. I can't say that.
Who experiences happiness and enjoyment on a daily basis.
I do, but you can't understand the complexity of my joy. You know, that's why that film doesn't really track for me ultimately Inside Out, you know? I've got 75, 85 emotions.
75
I know. You know, a lot of people saw it in America. $155 million worth of people saw it in America this weekend. Really quite amazing. This is what's going to keep happening. Some stuff's going to overperform. Some stuff's going to underperform, as we've been talking about the last few weeks. One thing I'd like to just affirm, which I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the show, box office tracking, we got to just junk this.
Yeah,
like,
they're very bad at it. They're almost as bad as the national pollsters.
What is the point of this?
So if box office tracking didn't exist, would Fall Guy or Challengers or whatever the movies that quote unquote underperformed, would any of them
didn't underperform?
I know, but did it underperform relative to tracking?
Yeah, I think it's set an expectation for people who follow this stuff closely that is unnecessary. I mean, it's useful, I imagine, for the studios, but like, why does that have to be publicly reported?
Is it useful if they keep getting it wrong?
I mean, like every company has internal data that they look at and analyze against. So that to me makes sense. But why we're in the press, we're like, well, this movie is tracking at $78 million and then it makes $140 million or vice versa. I don't know. It just seems like kind of a waste of time.
Agree.
Just seems like a game and not really worthwhise for analyzing how this works.
Yeah.
So I say let's just get rid of it.
Okay. Maybe we shouldn't care about box office at all. Maybe it should just be, is art successful purely on aesthetic terms?
Well, you know my take on that though, which is that we want to know what kinds of movies are going to get made, and success does dictate that to some extent. Films like Megalopolis, which will be distributed in America.
Like,
Speaking of my joy,
I actually do feel like Chris and I came in here with like a good and excited energy, but you're on a different
You
level.
attacked me. You attacked me, and now I've got my haunches are up.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I have a lot of energy today. I don't know why, but I was really excited to see. As you were driving in, the news broke that Megalopolis will be distributed in North America.
I'm glad someone stepped up to be accountable.
Thank God we're going to see it.
So what do you think happened deal-wise to allow this to happen? Because obviously the film costs a lot of money. What did Lionsgate have to do?
Is this
to
one of those like we
rights?
will literally physically put this in a movie theater, but like everything else P&A somebody else is going to have to pick up?
I mean, that's more or less what's happening with the other big self-financed gamble this summer, Horizon Chapter 1, An American Saga.
Seeing it tomorrow.
Gotta get in.
So I feel like that's probably what happened, but I don't know. That's total speculation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like Lionsgate has hundreds of millions of dollars lying around to spend on the
really
P&A.
To give away.
Love the idea that there's somebody out there named Charles Lionsgate.
Yeah.
Like Jack Warner, who's just like
Jim Lionsgate, yeah.
Jim Lionsgate. And he's just like, the Lionsgate family fortune has been dormant too long.
Well, that is what happens, though, is that you have these billionaires who want to get involved in these things, but that's not the state that Lionsgate is in, which is effectively like the 6th major of the major studios. And
I can make the case for it. You know, I could make the case for why this isn't a big. It's a financial gamble, I'm sure, in some regard, but like this does seem to be a movie that lots of people like writing about. So I do not think buzz or attention will be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are going to write about the Coppola piece, the interactive nature of the movie, possibly what it means for the future of films, like all these different things. Like it's going to be a divisive and buzzy movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think even if 80 people see it, and so I think that they'll like at least get some like exposure. You know, it shouldn't.
I mean, it's just about how much they put in. Coppola put $120 million of his own dollars. I'm doubt he's getting that back.
I would be surprised if he's getting
from
a big
Lionsgate,
chunk.
from
Right,
anything. So, you know, it's for Lionsgate, sure, if you can build up enough interest and you don't have to spend too much money. There were reports that Coppola wanted a very large and old school marketing spend. You know, like $100 million.
And I think he'll want an awards campaign as well.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how much of any of that he's gotten out of this deal. But you know what? Honestly, to the point about box office and tracking, who fucking cares?
I know.
Like the movie's coming out. That's amazing.
And that's what he wanted to spend his money on. So that's good.
I'm very excited. September shaping up to be an intriguing month at the movies. And that just means a lot of Francis Ford Coppola content in the fall, which I'm really excited about too. Did you see Inside Out 2?
No.
Do you think you'll see it?
No.
Okay, so you won't be
I saw
contributing.
Inside Out 1 in the movie theater, and I watched the short on a babysitting job once.
Right. Riley's like first date?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember.
So I feel like I got it.
I have never seen Riley's first date. I just remember that segment of the watch when you talked about watching Riley's first date.
You make it sound like you run a babysitting service, which is something that I think is
He did just offer his services as soon as your child is potty trained. Chris Ryan is
and
available.
I just don't know how to change diapers, so that's the only problem. Yeah.
Okay. There are some other issues that could be challenging.
Do you think
I wouldn't be a good babysitter?
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I think you'd be an amazing babysitter.
Do you think you can't learn to change a diaper?
I think that like the trade-off is I don't have an heir, but I also don't have to change diapers, you know? So
what's in your amassed fortune? What will you first of all, who will you be giving it to?
Why are you both looking at me like that?
My name better be on the list. Second of all, what's in it? Is it in a vault?
My like Scrooge McDuck? Yeah, do you think I just dive into gold coins at the end of every podcast?
The great fortune, the magnanimous fortune of King Ryan.
We'll find out. You know,
Right,
it'll be kind of like Logan Roy, you know?
You have several conservative cable news outlets? Wow. I wanted to chat briefly with you both before we start drafting about the movie Bratz.
Yes.
Now, Chris and I and Bill Simmons were texting about this movie on Thursday and Friday. And there was
of course.
It got to a point of rage, candidly, in the texting.
Well, so you asked me to watch it on Saturday morning. Chris and I had dinner on Saturday night. By the way, as we were finished having dinner, a young woman handed me a note and then left the restaurant. And it was a lovely note being like, I love the big picture and rewatchables and everything, and got me through law school. And I thought it was like a very classy hi from a listener, but also I didn't get to say thank you so much. So I just wanted,
so much cooler if she had handed you a note that said, I know what you did.
Anyway, I didn't want to put her on blast.
That waitress had a hook for a hand. How strange.
I thought that was a really cool thing, but also I wanted to be like, thank you
it didn't
in
say
return.
P.S. Did you see Bratz? Like, there's no transition here.
No.
Okay.
Anyway, Chris and I did talk about Bratz at dinner.
Oh, I see.
And so then I went home and watched it Saturday night, and I was just angrily texting Chris.
Okay.
Instead of, I didn't bring you into it. I almost did, but then I was like, save it for the pod.
Let's close the loop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's close the loop. Bratz is a new documentary available on Hulu. It's directed by Andrew McCarthy. Andrew McCarthy, very popular actor in the 1980s, a member of the Brat Pack. This documentary is, I guess, an exploration of the after effects of being written about in a magazine. This is one of the strangest things I've seen in a long time.
It's a portrait of a man on fire. Yeah.
So Andrew McCarthy, what he does is he goes back and goes and has conversations with his contemporaries, his friends, people he's lost touch with, people he worked with, back in the 80s when this young cohort of actors, and some of our young listeners may not be as familiar with this moment. Maybe they know The Breakfast Club or they know Pretty in Pink, but they don't know that there was this group of people who were cast frequently together. Among them were Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, Molly Ringwald, McCarthy, Judd Nelson, Demi Moore. Some of them went on to an extended period of success in their careers. Some of them kind of faded into obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew McCarthy faded into obscurity, candidly. I always kind of liked him as a screen presence.
He was great in those films.
In those movies. But he's clearly got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Because he's made this entire film in which he sits down with people who, almost all of whom, seem pretty balanced and happy and not...
almost all of whom are more successful than him going on in that. I mean, the first third of the movie is him doing solo therapy sessions to the camera in his car and then leaving voicemails for people who are more famous than him while feeding pigeons. Like, that's not an exaggeration. That's a very
perfect,
honest recap of the first third of the movie.
Yeah.
You're also leaving out the idea that he is using multiple film stocks.
I mean, the angle, I can't.
Like, when he interviews Ali Sheedy, she's like, why is there an iPhone like on the floor? And he's like, that's another angle we're using. And she's like, cool.
Yeah, yeah. He's definitely getting his Truffaut on, which is a really, really confusing approach to this movie. You know, there are a couple of different schools of thought about the right way to tell a story like this. Obviously, McCarthy has thrown himself into this movie because it is in part about his life. And there were a couple of things that I learned that were interesting. And it was interesting to observe the very tense agreement between McCarthy and some of his interviewees. Particularly Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez and Andrew McCarthy clearly have not spent any time together in the last 35, maybe more years. They were going to embark on a project which comes up briefly right before this article hit. And the story that was written by David Blum in New York Magazine in 1985 was built around Emilio Estevez. Blum spent a lot of time with Estevez. And then after the story hit, he clearly panicked and rejiggered his entire career so that he no longer made any movies with anybody in the Brat Pack because he did not want to be associated. Estevez and McCarthy have this fascinating, we're in our 50s now. Is this okay? It isn't, but we'll just say that it is kind of détente.
Right.
Everybody else seems to be a lot less tense, but a little bit bemused.
Well, Rob Lowe and Demi Moore are we are
like,
very successful and well-adjusted people.
We look amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we've had the good work.
Yes. Rob Lowe is clearly
sitting in incredible
Everybody else
vistas.
just refuses to talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he tries to bring in some voices who are not technically in the Brat Pack. You know, John Cryer, Leah Thompson, very familiar actors.
I can't. Oh, that was
Gladwell.
one of the one I texted you.
Very curious. You know, an author of a book, a film critic, some
and
supporting
also the
voices.
person who just says yeah, man, that's how pop culture works.
Yes.
Straight up to him.
Yes. The most bracing part of this is the final confrontation, the final boss, the big bad, which is that at the end of the film, Andrew McCarthy manages to track down the long-working journalist who wrote this piece when he was 29 years old and who, I guess, tricked Emilio Estevez into thinking he was going to be his friend and then wrote a somewhat scathing feature profile of this group of young actors.
But not unremarkable for that period of time in celebrity profile journalism. Whereas sometimes it would be fawning, but very often, especially in the sort of urbane New York media, they would cut your heart out.
Yes.
And that was just kind of what happened if you rolled the dice with them.
You went out with a journalist a bunch of times in a social setting. Yeah.
All the way up through Maya truffle fries,
Right, exactly. And they made you feel at ease and that you could do anything in their presence. And then all of a sudden when the piece comes out, you realize, oh, this is not my friend, which is something that McCarthy literally says. I thought the conversation with David Blum was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. One, David Blum was just wildly ungenerous and definitely thought he was the star of the film. And I don't disrespect anything he did in writing the piece, but I was like, your performance is also quite strange here. But Andrew McCarthy basically getting worked in real time by a 60-year-old journalist in the that upset the entire premise of the movie. He let the end of the movie, he let the journalist kill him again.
Yeah.
And then that was the end of the film. I thought was one of the weirdest creative choices.
The thing.
You could have just cut that out of the movie.
Andrew McCarthy's not in the piece.
I know.
He is mentioned as part of the Brat Pack. And I think he obviously feels like he took shrapnel from this piece. It was not about him. It was about Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, and Judd Nelson.
Yes.
Who are out one night. David Blum goes out with them. They're obviously cutting lines at clubs and getting recognized at bars. And basically doing movie star shit, especially 1985 movie star shit. And Andrew McCarthy is like a tertiary part along with Tim Hutton and all these other people who are also mentioned in it. Various people have had various careers since then. The premise of this film is that this article, and specifically the term Brat Pack, fundamentally changed the course of Andrew McCarthy's life. Not him choosing to live in New York instead of Los Angeles, not him possibly growing out of the erudite, bookish young roles that he was known for. It was that this guy said he was in the Brat Pack, and then the weird thing is like he doesn't say, okay, how did it change your life? So what happened? Could you not get cast in roles? Did you start to become completely cynical about Hollywood so you didn't want to do movies anymore? Did you just want to be a theater actor in New York? Andrew McCarthy was a guy who like 6 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? Cool career. You know, like weird that he never really popped off, but was a travel writer, seems to really like be like a consummate New Yorker, seems to have his shit together largely. And it's really not for me to say whether he does or doesn't, but he directed this movie, so he was in charge of the portrait of himself. And it's quite strange. It's quite a strange,
very questionable outcome. Yeah, I don't think it's going to radically change his legacy as a performer, but I felt very awkward watching the entire movie.
I mean, the entire project is somewhat misguided and is also just, you know, once again, we are crying out for basic media literacy in this country. And it almost gets to like, the part of the movie that was most interesting to me was when he was tracing how the term Brat Pack, which comes from this one New York Magazine piece in 1985 written by David Blum and the cover that goes with it, which frankly I just think is great magazine making. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm proud to have worked at New York Magazine. I mean, and
David Blum wrote a follow-up article for Vulture where he's like, I'm glad I did it and I would do it again. Yeah. Like that was a good line.
And to me, the most poignant line of David Blum's scene with Andrew McCarthy is when he was like, well, it affected me too. I thought Tina Brown was going to come calling me and it never happened. And I was like, oh, here's another, the 80s magazines, we were all swinging big. So it started there, but then it very quickly became like a catch-all term that was used throughout media and basically became like a packaging for all the tabloids, all the talk shows. And I'm sure had an effect on how the industry perceived these people and how they were cast and how they were selling these movies and these stars back to the audiences, the teen audiences. Then it like totally drops that ball and is like, okay, so now I'm just going to really, really obsess over this one journalist and this one piece of writing that I could never get past.
I think the block for him is that he clearly was actually never in the crew. Like he was not really. He definitely had a night out with Rob Lowe, which they
Liza
recount.
Minnelli?
Yeah, which sounds really fun.
I wish there was more stories like that.
After Spago,
but he was like, "Why am I paying for the sins when I don't get to reap the benefits of this? I'm a different kind of dude. I'm an East Coast guy. I'm not a movie star type. I'm an actor, even though I'm in Mannequin and Weekend at Bernie's. I'm an actor. And why wasn't I afforded the kind of respect that, say, like Demi Moore was able to build up over the course of her career?
Right.
But some people get it and some people don't.
Yeah.
You know, and like ultimately the answer is like, it's the breaks of life. I'm sure it's very painful for him. The decision to go out and do this is utterly strange.
Right. And to not understand, maybe even at the end, but certainly when you're putting this all together and putting yourself in front of the camera with all these other people who have figured it out, that the problem's you, that's tough.
Do you think he got a lot of time with Demi Moore and Rob Lowe?
It seemed like an afternoon, couple of hours maybe. I mean, they cut pretty hard around all the... I would say that the film is edited in this unusual way where you can see that he just doesn't have chemistry with these people. So we don't get these long, discursive stories. What you really would want from a movie like this is great anecdotes. And you kind of get a glimmer of that like, when Liza Minnelli shows up in the story.
Okay, so this is when we did St. Elmo's, and then after that you did this.
The Liza Minnelli Spago Night Out story contradicts the thesis of the movie, which is that Andrew McCarthy was never involved in the Brat Pack and so feels sad. And then as soon as Rob Lowe gets on camera, he's like, hey, remember Liza's? And then we went to Sammy's house. And they're saying Sammy, not the full name.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So it's like, okay.
Strange.
Really strange.
I think it's just a fascinating artifact of contemporary media.
But on the other side, I'm like, this is absolutely amazing that this was all filmed, recorded, and is available for us to watch. Like, I don't think that's what Andrew McCarthy wanted, but I'm like, I have an insight into something.
I don't know what it is that he wanted. I mean, the thing is that a lot of those movies, some of them haven't aged well or whatever, but a lot of them are pretty great. a lot of them are really fun to return to.
Yeah.
And in a way, this kind of soured me on some of these movies. It's not just the idea that they were like a ginned up creation of a journalist or that they weren't actually all buddies. I never cared about that when watching the movies. The characters were so good in so many of those movies that that's what you fixed yourself to.
I think that the big missing piece here was that a lot of the people he talked to either seemed to have had either left Hollywood or had decent careers afterwards. So like Demi Moore and Rob Lowe have had ups and downs in their careers, but have had career-defining roles way after the Brat Pack. If you had talked to Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald, who I think are still frozen in amber in that time to a large extent, and Molly Ringwald herself has written beautifully about those movies and The New Yorker and stuff, like, I think that would have been fascinating to see him kind of have two people who were like, yeah, my life was not the same after this, and I never really, in terms of how I was perceived publicly, changed. You know, like Molly Ringwald has done lots of good work since then. Judd Nelson like hasn't really like been able to keep it like together like for a sustained amount of time. But yeah, like and then they end with this. It ends with a kind of like, did you get Judd Nelson on the phone and he talked to you, or is this just a Breakfast Club?
This bizarre ending.
Yeah.
Also, there's a real lack of self-awareness of the role that Andrew McCarthy played in those movies and in the Brat Pack and in the so-called Brat Pack of, he was like the 80s yuppie and the embodied sort of like the Reagan era moment that a lot of people and culture wanted to move past. And so, like maybe he would have been in a Whit Stillman film, but also, they found other people as well. And so like, but it doesn't have the examination of like, oh, my time passed me by. It's all based somewhere else.
What allowed me to get in is why the door closed on me in a way. Yeah. No, I think that's very true. The exclusion, the non-participation of Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald is glaring. My suspicion was that maybe Molly Ringwald working on a documentary of her own, just because her life and like kind of what she represents generationally is so big. Just a gut thing. I mean,
she dated Ad Rock. She was so much more than Brat Pack.
Totally.
She's so cool.
But she was
but
probably is she the actress of the 1980s? The most representative actress?
The Truman Capote Show, right?
She was. She's in. She was one of the Swans. Yeah. And
Which
she's
one?
still working. I don't remember. I listened to an interview with her as well. But she's still working pretty regularly in television. But she's a bigger deal. The Judd Nelson thing is just one of those things where it's like, you shouldn't have made this movie. Like, if you can't get Judd Nelson to sit down for 10 minutes, like, then why did you even make the film?
Right.
Anyway, I bring all this up, and I thought this was an interesting transition point because in 2002, I was kind of in my Brat Pack era. I was rising.
You did it.
And so I thought we should start there. In 2002, who were you?
I graduated from high school.
Okay.
I started college. I didn't see movies. Like what? I mean, Chris and I were talking on it. This is a bad year. Well, I know you're going to say there are high points, there are things, there are gems you can find. We'll make it work, but like, woof, my guy. You know?
Yeah, I've been turning this over because I held off on this year for a long time. I think it's because every time I looked at it, I was like, is there enough stuff? There's a lot of personal favorites.
For sure.
But maybe not a lot of consensus.
There's several rewatchables in this. There are several like personal like all-timers. But in terms of like, I think that the most jacked we get to about a year is when we have seen, I remember that was a year I went to the movies like 50 times.
Yeah.
And this was a year I went to the movies like 10 times, I think. Now, part of that is because I was like living in New York and working at a record store and going out on Friday nights instead of going to the movies. And part of that is because the tick over like new release Friday was about as far from something I was interested in as I feel like I've ever been in movie history, like in my movie history.
Interesting.
Where like when you look at the week-to-week releases and the stuff that's just the like Hollywood blockbuster or like the comedy or this, I was like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. This is not something I want to vibe with. And so like it's really interesting to look at an 02 versus something like some of our more favorite years like an 07 or a 19 and even years that are underrated, but you're like, damn, I saw so many films that year. This is one where I'm like, I actually don't have that much interest in revisiting half of this stuff.
And when I did revisit a lot last night, it was a lot of, this is on for 15 minutes. And I was like, I haven't seen this since 2002 and I don't want to draft it. Close, next one.
And I'd honestly say, I mean, this is interesting. I wonder if it'll be a little bit of an age difference or just differences of where we were in our lives. I was not that into mainstream popular culture at the time. Like, this is right before Strokes and White Stripes musically, but like a lot of music was like I was not into popular music at this time. And I wonder whether or not like sometimes there are just like turns of the wheel and you're just like, yeah, this is not my moment right now.
It's always hard to say whether that's the stage you are at in life or what the culture is at that time and the intersection of those two things.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to bring it? I mean, it was tough times. 2002, wild year in the United States of America.
It's a George W. Bush era. It's post 9/11. I think like socially, it felt like a very fraught moment, especially for young people. I was on a college campus. I wouldn't say everybody was super happy. There were protests every single day on my college campus. I don't quite like align with the experience that you guys were having. I think the one thing that happened for me that makes it a little bit different is I started reviewing movies for my college newspaper. So I was
started
seeing
to feel like
a lot.
responsibility to engage with it.
Yeah. And so I remember the first movie I ever reviewed was Cronenberg's Spider, which came out this year. The Ralph Fiennes movie, very small movie. And I was just found myself down at the indie movie theater all the time.
Yeah.
And I liked some of the, I also was like happy that there was a good Spider-Man movie from the guy who made Evil Dead 2. I mean, to me, that was really exciting.
Yeah.
I liked the Lord of the Rings movies. Like there was mainstream stuff that I liked. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't like you know, the second Harry Potter movie and, you know, Ice Age and shit like that I couldn't care less about. But
yeah, and to me, like, I might be like Meatballs or Stripes is this classic. And some people might be like Van Wilder is that to me. You know what I mean? Because I was 16 when I saw that and like that, or 15, and that just opened it up for me. And it just wasn't that for me. Because like by that point, I was just like, I don't need to see another one of these kinds of movies.
Were you at Kim's at this time? What was the vibe at Kim's like?
Definitely not engaged with the popular cinema of the time.
yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, there was the vibe at Kim's was, you know, a lot of like late era video store like lionization of like B movie and exploitation movies, and then European art house stuff in the video department. And then for music, it was like a lot of experimental stuff and a lot of like, I mean, is this like La Tigre comes out around now? Like that was a big record then.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was definitely apart from mainstream culture.
It's a very bad Oscars.
Catastrophic.
Maybe a world worst, like in the top 10.
Just all-time forgettable.
The Best Picture nominees this year were Chicago, which won, The Hours, Gangs of New York, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Pianist. Now, not necessarily like horrible movies, but just like no juice, you know? You think they're horrible movies?
I mean, I know that the Lord of the Rings people love the Lord of the Rings, and I'm happy for my two hobbits. But other than that, like, who wants to? No disrespect to Gangs of New York, but I don't want to rewatch any of these movies. Like, sorry.
I've been working on a 22-year-long project to find my in for Gangs of New York is wildly misunderstood.
It was on a lot recently, so I've been watching parts of it, and there are parts of it that are incredible.
Well, there's an all-time Daniel Day-Lewis performance stuck in the middle of this movie that starring Leonardo DiCaprio's bad accent and Cameron Diaz's worse accent. And, you know, so that part of it is tough. But there's really cool, you know.
Cameron Diaz.
My guy, Priest Fallon, Liam Neeson. Love that guy.
John C. Reilly's great in this.
He's great. But yeah, the you know, this is infamously the Roman Polanski Best Director win, and Adrian Brody's win for Best Actor. It just kind of feels like an awkward year in general. Like maybe the culture doesn't know what it is trying to say. You know, Chicago is just like a revived musical directed by Rob Marshall, maybe the worst director to win Best Picture in movie history. It is a bit of an awkward year. I don't think it will be a hard year to draft from. Tom Hooper also quite bad.
Yeah.
Quite bad. What? Oh yeah, he directed
King's Speech.
King's Speech. Yeah, I was thinking
that's right. Who did he beat?
David Fincher for The Social Network.
Not ideal.
Yeah,
not the best. This one's up there. I'm trying to think of what other big takeaways. Obviously, 2001 was the dam bursting on franchise stuff. You know, that Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings starts, and then Spider-Man comes the following year, and then the die is cast for what mainstream movies will be. I still think indie movies are in a pretty good place at this time. There's also a few like masterpieces of forms that, you know, maybe you guys don't love as much. But
like what?
like Spirited Away is released in America this year. You know, that's wins Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. Like widely considered one of the greatest animated movies of all time. Don't really have to worry about saying it out loud because neither of you will take it, and if you do, you're spiteful. So we're just putting that on the record right now.
That would be really funny.
Yeah. Okay. You want to draft?
Sure.
I'm going to be very honest. I forgot to look at the categories. I mean, we discussed them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you should mention that we have a new category.
A couple of changes.
I knew generally, but I'm just not very prepared.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
So, I did a lot of work, but or like more prep than usual. Like I was crushing tape last night. But it didn't yield anything.
Okay, you got to get that play sheet in front of you when you're doing it. That's
and if anyone is watching, for the sake of filmmaking, I don't have my laptop on the table, so I'm not texting.
Yeah,
I'm actually just doing.
How's your wife doing? Is she well?
This is what we're gonna do at the live event. So
6 categories.
People can get used to it.
Okay.
Will we be using phones? Did we agree to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we are not gonna have a table. So
live event's coming up soon.
Yeah.
It's in 3 weeks.
Do you guys want me to do a quick, like a 15-minute set just to warm up the crowd?
Do you know that you're a part of the live event? Do you understand that like we're planning on you being there
the whole time? Because I'm really busy.
What do you have cooking on July 9th?
6 o'clock. Okay, so do I need to send you a Google Cal?
No, I can't wait to participate.
Okay,
honestly.
thanks so much.
Yeah,
but like you were in the event description, so
like also featuring or
yes, but it was like written there. Your first and last name when people bought tickets. So
are you trying to like negotiate for third chair status?
No, I was thinking about what would happen if I tried to book a rival event that night. Like either go to the Comedy Store.
Do you have another podcast?
No, I'm really excited.
The 6 categories are as follows. And I'll say I made this change because originally when I was thinking about O2, I thought it could be an upside down draft year contender.
I have already been voicing my skepticism of this year's quality in text. So you made some changes to respond to it.
The problem is I don't think there's enough to account for an interesting upside down draft. So the one modification we made is, we'll start with drama. We've got action, horror, thriller as 2 mainstay categories. Number 3, we have misunderstood, aka sub 60% on Rotten Tomatoes,
which is open to interpretation. You could say critically maligned. You could say a B movie that was in fact closer to an A-, whatever. But it has to be sub 60 in Rotten Tomatoes. 60 or below.
Yes, you asked for that delineation late last night so that you could get something across the board, and I can't wait to see what it is.
I just wanted to know what my options were at that moment.
Okay. Number 4 is Blockbuster. $100 million or more this year. 24 films qualify for Blockbuster. That is a lot. The box office was robust at this time. Number 5 is Oscar nominee, and number 6 is Wild Card. I feel like maybe I have the most optionality here in terms of movies that I like.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Where are we at with keeping track of who's winning these things?
I don't even think we posted polls recently. So we did post for 99, but maybe the previous 2 we did not.
Yeah.
But then
we're post results. It's just
welcome
process.
to my life. Yeah,
Sort of like our national leaders in some ways too, They're just going off vibes. I think this is the way the nation is leaning. Stick my finger in the air. Bobby Wagner, can you help us with the draft order?
Yeah, I can
you
do
help
that.
us with our national politics?
How
I'm working
was
on
the
that in
feedback
my
to
free
Mount
time.
Rushmore? Did we get it right?
Going first will be Sean.
Fuck.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Wow. We are so back. We are the most
And
back.
selecting second will be Chris.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
We get 2.
Yeah, I'm just like, should I go get some snacks and just like chill out,
What, like not draft?
I mean, this will be fun.
What do you? There's so many movies here. What do you mean?
I just didn't.
You have an entire list. Can I give you a tip?
Yeah.
If you go to the Letterboxd list,
Yes.
you can sort by highest rated, and then you can see all the good movies.
But Amanda has her own rating system. She has her own.
Also, once again, I found last night something on your letterbox was actually only 2002 at Venice. Then it was 2003.
Oh, what was it? Tell me.
The Quiet. No, Ripley's Game.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. So
were you planning on drafting Ripley's Game?
Listen, it's not a great year.
Okay.
What am I supposed to be doing out here?
Gosh. All right.
Have
you seen Ripley's
Game? We
Game?
got to consider all the options.
Don't know.
So it's actually worth watching because there is a callback to it in your beloved television show.
Is this the
Ripley.
Malkovich one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I have not.
Okay.
All right.
Can I ask you guys while you decide what to do, Sean?
Mm-hmm.
How often do you experience the sheer panic of having the soap fully lathered on your hands and then you can't get the automatic faucet to turn the water on? And you're like, now I'm just going to be stuck here with soap on my hands for the rest of my life?
Interesting question. I'll tell you why. I'm a go for the water first guy.
Me too.
Yeah, but so you go
so
for
I already
water,
know that the
but
sink
then
works. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, what if you can't get it back on?
Can't say that's ever happened to me.
Okay, I would say I experience it 2 to 3 times a day. Like
Perhaps you're having an issue with the way that you're.
I am having an issue with automated faucets, but it's like I just had it. I always have it in the bathrooms here. Had it at dinner, Father's Day dinner last night, and I'm just like, what are you supposed to do? Like every single movie theater. There's this sheer panic of like, now I just have all this fucking soap on my hands and germs, and I don't know how to get it off.
You have soap and germs on your hands?
Because I haven't rinsed the germs off yet, you know? So maybe the soap has deactivated the
You got to
germs.
make sure you got
maybe
that
not.
antibacterial going. You know, then just kill those
You should
germs
work at the
on site.
National Institute of Health.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is actually how COVID started. It was a water faucet issue.
There's an
Just couldn't get that
automatic
automatic
sink
faucet
didn't
to turn on.
it was very stressful. My heart rate just goes up several times a day, you know?
In Blockbuster, I'm taking Minority Report.
Okay.
Okay.
What color is the blue gummy bear?
What flavor you mean?
I mean, what
This is
flavor?
incredible subterfuge by you. You're like a saboteur. He just said a film by Steven Spielberg
Yeah.
starring Tom Cruise.
Right.
And that is honestly becoming more prescient by the day.
Thank you for saying so, Chris. One thing I remember is in the early days of meeting you having a kinetic emotional relationship to Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
And I believe you cited this film in addition to
It
Joel
began
Schumacher's
truly with
Tigerland.
Tigerland, with the Joel Schumacher film.
Yeah. I do remember having earnest
Speaking of
conversations, looking Chris directly in the eye in a bar, clutching a Miller High Life and him just waxing poetic about Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Look at him now. Now he's the Penguin, you know? Life comes at you fast. Minority Report, just a masterpiece. It's in my top 5 Spielberg movies. I think it's absolutely amazing. One of the best of the 2000s. And Blockbuster is pretty loaded, but also
You want to have your...
I want to have the good one, the best one possible.
Speaking of Spielberg movies, one small point that I enjoyed / objected to vociferously in the Andrew McCarthy Bratz documentary is when he's commiserating with Emilio Estevez, and he's like, if it hadn't been for Brat Pack, then Martin Scorsese and Spielberg would have called me. And I was like, well, Leonardo DiCaprio was in the Pussy Posse, and then Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg did not stop calling.
Yeah.
In this, one of them in this calendar year.
I actually thought of the movie After Hours while I was watching it.
Yeah.
Because Griffin Dunn, like Andrew McCarthy
Yeah.
could have been in that movie, but he was not in that movie, and Griffin Dunn was in that movie.
When did
As,
After
to your
Hours come
point,
out?
the yuppie of the Reagan era. I think it's 85.
Oh, wow.
So it's right in the heart of that moment. Anyway, Minority Report, just a banger.
Can I tell you something, on and off again with Twitter, but one of the
You're back
funny
X?
subgenres of like my For You feed
Mm-hmm.
is dudes who are just like, look at the goat work, and it's some random shot from a Spielberg movie, and be like, you guys don't understand blocking. And it'll be like Tom Cruise walks into a room, and then they're just like, this is true fucking modern art.
It's usually guys who work in the industry, and he makes things look effortless that are obviously not
But
effortless.
I've
Who was
watched
it recently?
so much behind the scenes Minority Report stuff
Yeah.
of him staging like the hoverboard chase and everything. And it's awesome. I mean, I
the
picked it in the
algorithm
action.
does work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, if you open that tweet as a standalone, then all of a sudden you'll get served that for the rest of your life
Yeah.
in the For You. And honestly, great. That's so wonderful. You know, many people are now coming around to West Side Story and The Fabelmans. Have you been seeing this? The discourse is shifting to actually it's okay to be 78 years old and making movies
Well,
if you
that
can make them
kid
like this.
from Fabelmans fucking goes pro in Snack Shack.
That's right. Gabriel LaBelle. I agree. Thank
I
you for
am
saying
locked
so.
in on that dude.
Yes, he's got the juice.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Wait till 35 under 35 circa 2025 because he's climbing the charts right now, Gabriel LaBelle. You don't agree?
I was there with West Side Story when it came out.
Yeah.
I was there with Fabelmans when it came out.
I'm not accusing you of anything.
I've been there with the concept of Snack Shacks since
childhood.
1992?
Yeah.
And yet you won't watch this film.
Why
won't you watch this beautiful film?
Because I have to watch every single bad Kevin Costner movie
I know,
since 1994.
Yeah, I've been doing the same.
20 years.
A lot of misses.
Kev?
You forget.
He had a bad one this year.
Yeah. He says quite a few.
I
he's
did
had some
think,
hits.
I thought about, I was like, oh, should I just watch 20 minutes of this Costner movie so I have something in my back pocket for 2002 and I have one more off my list? I didn't do it. I made other choices.
So the movie that came out this year
Yeah.
is actually not available to be streamed.
Oh,
The
well.
film is called Dragonfly. It's directed by Tom Shadyac. He's the man who directed Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yeah.
Um,
I had to just read the description of this film because I couldn't find it even.
it's remarkable that it
Yeah.
even happened.
Yeah.
It's one of 2 Kevin Costner movies that are literally not available. Thank you very much. I
Amanda,
believe it's
what
Blue
is
Raspberry to answer your question. This is like
What is going on?
Little girl wakes up and she realizes she forgot to study for her test, but the nightmare is real and she didn't study for the 2002 movie draft.
Well, now I touched it too much to eat it.
Well, you
we
think I'm
don't
gonna
even
touch
know
that?
if you washed
Well,
the
I
soap
thought it
off
would
your
upset
hands.
you
Yeah.
if I put it
You
close
just
to you.
gave a whole
I know,
speech.
but look at him. He's so mad.
Well, I'm not worried about it, but I'm not going to touch
listen,
it.
I was like, oh, they're filming this, and I had a moment of inspiration. And
You're
so-
like a
You
young
thought
Spielberg.
This is your like hoverboard chase is putting a handled blue raspberry gummy bear.
But look how uncomfortable he is.
I feel fine. Literally, no one can even see this.
Yeah.
Alea's not using a super zoom lens here.
So Leia, can we do a little handheld? Like,
Here, hold on. I can. There we go.
would you like me to go?
I would like you to draft, yeah.
I have 2 wolves inside of me, but I have to go with the one who at least holds some interest in winning these things.
Mm.
So for Oscar nomination, I'm going to take Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, interesting.
So 2 Spielbergs
Can I tell
off
you
the board.
something?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
For what?
Because I was in some real deep trouble, and
And-
you helped me out just now.
Okay. I think that means you're gonna take what
The
I
other
wanted.
wolf. Yeah, sorry.
Fuck.
Well,
Anyway, I'm gonna take Catch Me If You Can for Oscar nom. This is Walken. Got nominated for this? Who got nominated for this?
Yeah, I think multiple nominations, if I recall. When you see me go to Google, you got a vamp as the co-host of the podcast. Can you
Listen,
get with it today?
I was vamping, and I was putting the blueberry.
No,
I
that
had
was
so
disrupting.
much-
4 nominations: supporting actor, adapted screenplay, score, of course, John Williams,
Yeah.
and best costume design, Mary
Okay.
Selfers.
Well,
Those are good
we
Pan
did
Am
this for
costumes.
Rewatchables recently. An example of a film where podcasting about it just made me love it even more.
Yeah.
I feel like studying this movie in a weird way made it pop for me. So this is more of a late breaking one, but it's a thin Oscar year, and that is what I'm going to go with. So for Oscar nom, I'll take Catch Me If You Can. Amanda, you're on the clock.
Thank you so much. In Blockbuster, I will take The Bourne Identity.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Oh, okay. All right. I was actually, until about 2 seconds ago, when I realized that another movie could qualify for thriller, I was very nervous because I thought action horror thriller was pretty low, but was pretty thin for me. But The Bourne Identity rules, and we've talked about it many times. I drafted the Escape from the Embassy as in our action set piece draft. We have talked about that farmhouse. We've talked about the shaving of the head.
Yeah,
Just really good stuff. So that'll be in Blockbuster, and then
the shaving it when he dyes her hair.
he dyes her hair. That's
Yeah,
what I meant. Yeah. But he is like closer cropped,
He is.
you know.
Yeah.
And good sweaters.
Just observing.
Okay. And then in action horror thriller, I will take Unfaithful.
Okay, you could have had that for Oscar nom.
I could have, but
Diane Lane, what a
Well,
shocking Oscar nomination,
like I said,
honestly.
she was wonderful.
You know
in
where you
it.
could have had it is Misunderstood, because it is sub 60% on
I
Rotten Tomatoes.
actually have some other
Okay.
misunderstoods.
I
that
wonder
worked for
how
me
many
in
movies
this
in the
year.
history of cinema have had Oscar noms while sub 60 RT.
It's a great question. It would take a lot of research.
Right.
Bobby, good
Probably
luck
a
to you
lot
for
of
compiling all that
acting
data.
nominations.
so we can do an
Yeah,
episode
sure.
on
It's
that.
always like, you know, Peter Fonda and something that
Yuli's Gold?
yeah,
I
Let's
bet
not
Yuli's
shit on
Gold,
Yuli's Gold.
is above 60.
right, but
Yeah.
okay, not
Sundance
Yuli's Gold.
sensation
Sure.
Yuli's Gold.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. You guys are the ones making the Rotten Tomatoes scores. But I think probably acting or song nominations.
Sure.
You know, you can
Yeah,
game the
that's
system.
That's a good point. There's a lot
Yeah.
of those.
Unfaithful.
An
one of my
action horror
favorite
thriller.
Yeah, well, it's definitely thriller.
I agree with you.
Richard Gere just getting cucked.
Yeah.
Just cucked right out of the paint. It's tough.
Yeah,
It's really not what you want.
And then
From Cucky to Cuck.
That's right.
The Gear story. That's me, my 700-page bio of Rick.
From gigolo to cuckold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. That's a monograph for CR.
This is a great movie.
Yeah,
I know that
it's
Bill.
okay.
You know what? I'm with Bill
Adrian
and Wesley
Lyne?
on this one. Bill and Wesley.
We're sure he's good.
Oh my God. Bill and Wesley have been letting me down a little bit recently. I love them so much, but we haven't been aligned. But they love this movie and the Diane Lane performance, as do I. Also, it's like that sex scene in the bathroom is really hot. And I'm a big fan of Adrian Lyne. And this is also like the last return to form for Adrian Lyne before things get experimental.
Speaking of sex, I'm really excited for you to check out Jake Gyllenhaal and Renat Rinsva humping.
Okay.
And Presumed Innocent on Apple TV.
There's a strong focus on their sexual lives
Yeah.
in the first episode of Presumed Innocent. Can't say I was complaining.
Yeah.
It was pretty exciting stuff. Jake, I think he might be unwell. I'm just going to put that out there. I think he's got a lot of issues. I really like what he's doing on screen.
Yeah.
But he's just deeply weird in the most traditional movie
What was the
ever.
quote that I sent to you? Hold on. Let me find this. I mean, he's been on the press tour of all press tours for like 6 months now, between Roadhouse and then this. And then also that time where he's like, if I see the sea, I swim in the sea.
Yeah.
You know, which was not verified, but
Did he say that?
yeah. What was the movie that didn't happen? That was very troubled. The production was troubled.
The David O. Russell movie with the hammer, the nail
No,
in the
that
head.
came out.
No. It was something that never came out. And there was a piece. So none of this is all one-sided, you know, but it attributed a lot of idiosyncratic behavior, in quotes, to Jake Gyllenhaal as part of the reason the film didn't get made. And one of them was like, if I see the sea, I swim in the sea. And so he had to go swimming instead of film.
Right. And that is your mantra.
Yeah, but here's another one. Jake Gyllenhaal is legally blind with a prescription of 20 to 1250. And then this is the quote. I like to think it's advantageous when I can't see in the morning before I put on my glasses. It's a place where I can be with myself.
Do you feel that way?
Well, I literally sent it to you with same, and then no one responded. No, I don't, because my phone is just like right at my nose as soon as I wake up in the morning. That's because I got to see what time it is, and then I'm no longer with myself.
No, you're with Steve Jobs and Heather.
Yeah. But it's a nice thought.
Chris, you're up.
In drama, I'm going to take 25th Hour.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't really gotten to take 25th Hour that often. I wasn't on the rewatchables. I think I was away, and it's just one of those things where I need to speak on it. This is one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite Spike Lee movies. This is back when Dave Benioff wrote about real people and not scientists or dragons. And it is fucking incredible. Edward Norton's amazing. Barry Pepper's amazing. Philip Seymour Hoffman, What Needs to Be Said. Just an unbelievable portrait of New York after 9/11, but also like this blindingly good family drama and crime story. And Brian Cox is fucking incredible in it. So
one of the all-time endings.
Yeah,
of movies.
And one of the all-time great endings.
Thought about taking this first overall. Perhaps I should have. Painful to not have this for me. Just an amazing movie. One of my favorite movies. Release this movie on 4K, please. That's something I'd like to say to the studios right now. Please.
Do you like Leah Thompson's little introduction about physical media?
Thought that was rude. Thought that was very rude. But you know what? We stand with Kevin Costner. It's a joke. Physical media, of course, that's a profit center for him as the financier of the Horizon Films.
Right.
Because those fans are still buying Blu-rays. Those men who have their stacks and stacks of Yellowstone.
You think that they have Blu-rays?
For like 12.90, yeah.
Perhaps.
I think they have Xboxes and they still play Halo a little bit.
No, you're thinking of like 42-year-old men, but I'm saying the 62-year-old men who are like, I need to pop in Lonesome Dove again. That's the energy that we're getting in Horizon.
Lonesome Dove's on 4K. Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't really know what it would do for it anyway.
Was it even shot on film?
I don't know.
I guess it must have been. Anyway, I've got 2 picks. 25th Hour was next in my sights. So I have only one way to bounce back, which is to take my 2 boys.
Yeah.
In drama, I'm taking Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah. Okay.
Fascinating post-Magnolia.
Another Philip Seymour Hoffman monster performance.
Mattress Man. One of the funniest moments in movies in the 2000s. Remarkable Adam Sandler performance. Just a story about a very relatable kind of a person, you know, to Amanda's point, a man who's just struggling to feel joy, you know, who's really bottled up inside, who is surrounded by hateful women who don't understand him until he finds the perfect one. And somebody who really opens their heart to him. And it's a great film. Second pick is an action thriller horror. I'll be taking Panic Room from my dad, David Fincher.
Nice job.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank David Fincher for all of his work. You know, lesser Fincher, but lesser Fincher is greater
Lesser
everywhere
Fincher
else.
is better than
Yeah.
90% of movies.
Good.
Yeah. So how can it be a bad movie year?
Yeah.
When we have Scorsese and Spielberg and Spike and Fincher
Yeah, but
and
nobody's
Anderson.
drafted the Scorsese yet for a reason.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So I've got light pink and clear gummy bears here.
My turn?
Yeah.
You know what? Chime in when you get to the chocolate part of this cup, because I want to know what the flavor change does to your brain chemistry when you go from fruit
And there are
to,
like 3 different shades of green. I don't know.
I will be selecting an action horror thriller, 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny Boyle's post-apocalyptic zombie movie with Cillian Murphy. I remember seeing this in the theater and just being like, this is what they felt like when they saw 400 Blows, dog. You know? He emptied out London and shot like with a fucking camcorder.
Is that what he did?
Yeah.
He said you guys have to leave?
No, he basically shot it like a lot of this stuff was shot at
It was
dawn.
like 3 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, so what an amazing conceit for a movie. Is this Garland?
Of course it is.
God, the fucking King's cooking.
Yeah, and they're back.
Yeah.
They're so back.
The grill
they're,
masters. Yeah. Boy meets grill right here. Just getting a char.
The grill masters.
Yeah.
So Garland and Boyle, that's
Together.
your nickname for them.
Yeah.
Because they're cooking up something special.
It's just, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
This movie has aged great too. I know some people don't love the third act with Eccleston. I love it. I think it's like, yeah, there would definitely be some fucking freak show out there who was like, time to breed.
Absolutely.
Where are you? That's a single thing about this movie.
Well, I was plotting my next move and also, you know, contemplating gummy bears, but really plotting my next move.
Okay.
And I was trying to find the link to the letterbox piece because there's one category I could spend a little more time on, but that's what I was doing.
Okay. But
Great
28
pick.
Days Later, do you love it, hate
yeah,
it?
Sure. Zombies.
Never seen it.
Great stuff. Yeah, I've
Never-
never seen
she's
it.
never
No,
seen
of
it.
course not.
You've never
She's never
seen
seen it.
28 Days Later?
No. I don't like zombies.
And the zombies were fast.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I know, but I just
We
don't.
hadn't seen that, but we didn't know. We didn't know we could do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, at that time, you know, which was a very fraught time in our history, the story resonates deeply too. You know, the sense of panic,
And
confusion
perhaps no more.
in a society.
And it came back around in 2020. Where it's like, oh man, the cities are empty, nature is healing, but not. You know.
I love that for you guys.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy.
Are you excited about the addition?
Yeah, he talks about it all the time.
I'm really excited. I'm glad that Garland is back behind the typewriter.
Where he belongs,
I didn't say that.
away from the lenses.
I didn't say that.
Civil War still one of your favorite films of the year?
Number 4. I was just looking yesterday at my list.
Okay. How often do you check your list?
This has been such a wild year for me.
Say more.
I'm just
Just
doing what I want.
movies?
I'm going where I smell interest, you know?
Okay.
So I watched this movie, The Land of Bad,
Okay.
which is directed by William Eubank, who also directed Underwater with Kristen Stewart, the underwater alien
He's
movie.
got a really stripped down sensibility with his titling.
And
Underwater is set underwater.
It's the
Land
two-
of Bad set in a land of bad.
non-Chris Hemsworths. So Luke and Liam, and they play like Delta Force, like SEAL guys.
Yeah.
Trying to rescue a JSOC asset from a cartel in the South China Sea.
So what?
And
what?
Russell Crowe plays a
Okay.
drone operator.
All right.
Yeah.
So no. So
That sound you just
what
heard, America, is
search
the
term-
4,000 men screaming, crying, jerking off simultaneously as Chris describes the plot of Land of
What
Bad.
is
And I have to say, Milo Ventimiglia is fucking incredible in
Wow.
this as another soldier.
What is the search term that actually leads you there? Is it Russell Crowe? Is it cartel? Is
I saw
it
some
special
dude
forces?
on Letterboxd be like, Challengers is up there with Land of Bad. It's one of the best films of the year. And I was like, huh. I had thought about
That
it.
was me. It was me. You found my account.
Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I'd like to see it. I'm also going to watch In the Land of Saints and Sinners, which is a Liam Neeson film, an Irish film that apparently is very good, but in a similar mode, I think.
I've been grinding a little bit, but still, I'm catching up all this big stuff that I missed earlier in the year for a variety of reasons. I'm all caught up.
You're just VODing though. You're not going to the cinema.
Well, we went and saw Thief on Friday. Let's go to the cinema.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
How was it?
Shout out to all the women who came out to that.
Yeah, a lot of great gals.
You know?
Nice to see them. Yeah. Some women who understood us for a change.
How many?
At least a dozen.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, more.
Yeah.
16?
Wow.
18?
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, for the men, it was like they were like a Three Stooges movie. They were just laughing the whole time. They couldn't believe the incredible work from James
On the
Caan.
one hand, you have to think that a Thief screening at our beloved Vidiots is like if you're interested in dating men, a target-rich environment. But at the same time, it's like, what is the target?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the target is constantly moving because these men are locked off. They're locked in a vault of their own design.
That's right.
And the only thing that unlocks the vault is Jimmy Caan saying, let's get on with this big romance.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only thing that can be said. What an amazing movie. Just a 5-star perfect film. Where were you?
I was with my in-laws.
It's tough.
Yeah, so
It's a tough beat.
it's just, that's kind of...
One fewer woman
It would
at
have
that
been
screening.
awesome if you showed up wearing like a Heat t-shirt. You know?
Maybe next time.
Okay.
Did you know that there are a lot of Heat t-shirts at Travel Town? In fact, I think you do because every time I see a Heat t-shirt at Travel Town, which for those not on my wavelength is a local Los Angeles park where there are a bunch of trains. And the kids get to see the trains, but then you just see a lot of dads with Heat t-shirts.
Good for them.
So maybe you can take our children there when you're babysitting.
Well, we all know what has to happen first, so.
Amanda, you have 2 picks.
I do. Okay. So in Oscar nominee, I will take Adaptation, which is my favorite Charlie Kaufman film.
Okay.
Which is what?
I thought for a second you were like, which is a movie made in 2002.
No, I've seen this movie.
I know.
Come
I'm
on.
not doubting you.
Yeah, don't.
Your second
listen.
chair. Look, I'm not.
Spike Jones in 2002 is very important culturally and pop culturally to me because also think of where he is in his personal life
Married
at this
to
point.
Sofia
Yeah,
Coppola?
and having Lost in Translation made about him like at this moment.
Okay.
But also like incredibly cool. And I like the Spike Jones Charlie Kaufmans more than just the pure Charlie Kaufmans. Shout out Meryl Streep. Really,
She's great in this.
really great performance.
Going for it.
Yeah. And this is also like the Nick Cage wavelength that I can get on as well.
I think he should have won again for this.
Yeah, and I do think I also saw this, maybe not in 2002, but definitely in college, like relatively early in my like film going life. And I was like, oh, movies can, one of those like, oh, wow, movies can be like this, movies for me. So Adaptation, great film that I have seen, Chris Ryan. I think I am just, I could be cute and do Gangs of New York, but I don't really want to.
Then don't.
What?
Nope, nothing. I'm just, you know what it is? It's like when you get to a great point in a novel and you're like, I just don't know where this is going to go next. And that's how I feel right now. I have no idea
He's so mad.
what you're going to say next.
I got you these 2 more gummy bears.
The amount that you're handling these
I know.
completely
I'm
precludes
very
him from eating it.
It's truly a disgusting act. It is.
That's why I'm doing it.
It's loathsome.
But you can't really eat while you're podcasting. No one wants to hear that.
Are you
That's
sure?
more
Because you're pushing it.
No, well, you guys can talk about zombies some more, and I'll just house this thing. So I have Drama, Misunderstood, and Wild Card left, and I don't really feel that I'm going to have to share my Misunderstood or my Wild Cards with you.
Okay.
Because there's some Amanda stuff. Well, I'm holding this cup now of gummy bears, and the fragrance is quite something. So drama-wise, I could like make a play and do Gangs of New York, but my heart's not really in it. So instead, I will go with another movie that I did see in 2002, and because I was 17, turning 18 in 2002, I thought it was the most profound, important movie I've ever seen. Igby Goes Down.
Good movie, yeah.
It's a great
I like this
movie.
yeah.
It's
It
not
took
the
the
most
long way to get there, but this is a great shout by you. You might want to turn Waze on next time, but this is great. I love Igby Goes Down.
He told me to vamp.
No,
So-
that's not what
he
I said. That's not what I said. Let's keep going. Go ahead. Pontificate, please.
I don't know, it's about like a unhappy rich kid.
Yeah.
But brings us older Kieran Culkin, which becomes very important in the
Yes.
unhappy rich kid canon. And just a stacked cast: Claire Danes, Jeff Goldblum, Amanda Peet, who I think I knew about, but was a revelation to me in this. Ryan Phillippe, Susan Sarandon, Bill Pullman, everybody. And I
Directed
remember
by
being
Burt
like,
Steers, correct?
Yes.
Burr Steers.
Burr Steers, and he was in
He was in Last
Kicking
Days of
Screaming?
Disco.
Last Days of Disco,
Yeah,
right?
he's in Last Days of Disco. He's in Pulp Fiction. And he quickly follows this movie up by directing How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days,
yeah.
9 months later, and then does not direct another movie for 15 years.
And what did he direct in 15 years?
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Zombies. There you go.
God, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I misspoke. He wrote How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and then he
Okay.
doesn't write another movie until Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Anyway,
So
New York
adaptation
movie.
and Igby Goes Down.
yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Back to you, Chris.
I'll do Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers and Blockbuster. I've long said,
What happens in this movie?
I'll tell you, there's three major plots. You've got the Rohan situation, the Rohirrim, right? And they're like on the horses. And
What is that here situation?
well, their king has been basically like incepted by Grimer Wormtongue,
Yeah.
the
Played by who?
steward, or not steward. He's like the consigliere to the king.
You're
Yeah.
just in major Talk of Thrones
And
mode right
he
now.
has like poisoned this guy's brain and made his eyes go all milky.
Yes.
And he's like, you don't have to fight against Sauron and Saruman.
Portrayed by the great Brad Dourif.
Yeah. So there's that whole thing happening in the Rohan. Then there's two hobbits are with tree people, with Ents.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this?
I remember you guys telling me about tree people last time, and then I learned later
Treebeard is the name of the character.
that
He is
tree
an Ent.
people. And there was some confusion about the relationship between hobbits and tree people, but I'm clear on it. now.
Okay, great. And then Frodo and Sam are continuing their walk to Mount Doom with Gollum. And honestly, when
Who's
I
Frodo
rewatch
and
this
who's Sam
movie,
between the two of you?
I think I'm Sam.
Probably.
Publicly
Okay.
facing, at least. Maybe personally, you're my Sam.
I've been unfavorably compared to Gollum in the past, so I might have to take that L and hold it.
Why? What's your precious?
The cinema.
Yeah.
The great
Okay.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
24 frames a second.
That's right.
Just my precious flip.
Flickering.
This is not complicated. Helm's Deep's still one of the most incredible set pieces, and this is my favorite of the three. I think. I love
Interesting.
I love a second.
Kind of
You
an
know,
empire.
I love a
Yeah.
Darkest Before Dawn moment.
Interesting choice.
A lot of seconds this year. None of them
There were.
Yeah,
as quality as this one. I have seen this.
yeah. I mean, I think this is very
I
entertaining.
saw this in Return of the King back to back in college.
like the
back to
same
back.
day.
Yeah, they aired it. Yeah, they did like a thing,
They
a
aired it?
marathon. Yeah, they screened it.
Oh, the screen. Okay. Like
You
on
went to a
TV?
Lord of the Rings marathon.
Well, it was 2 movies, so it was like 5 hours.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried a lot of things in college. My mind and heart were open.
Yeah. Some women explore their sexuality.
Amanda.
Some sit
got
for
into
6
Tolkien.
hours to watch Hobbits.
Yeah.
I have 2 picks.
Mhm.
I like Two Towers. Haven't seen it in forever. I think I watched all 3
But
of them.
don't you do like a rewatch every 2 or 3 years?
I did one during COVID, but I think it had been a while before I did it.
Okay.
When you watched it during
actually,
COVID, did you like
Fellowship
it?
was in theaters this weekend and was in the top 10.
Oh, I
at
mean,
the
if they
box
put those
office.
movies out, there's like 10 or 15 movies from the 21st century that I feel like if they were just always in, they would do fine.
Yeah.
Interstellar, the Fellowship movies,
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
Agreed. So anything by Nolan or with Hobbits will
Yeah.
always work.
When will Chris Nolan make a Hobbit movie and save Hollywood?
I heard my buddies Elric and Brian on their podcast, on the Pure Cinema Pod, talking about a story that they heard. So this is pure conjecture, but I quite enjoyed the story, which is that a friend of theirs watched Christopher Nolan exit the Vista for a noon screening of Bad Boys 4, which I just think rocks. That's just amazing.
That is
Exit like
awesome.
he had completed it, or exit before it?
No, like he just went to go see it, and he goes to the Vista because they showed everything on film.
Yeah,
and also.
And he loves movies.
And he lives near there.
And
sightings in that general
He lives-
area
that was
on a regular
noted on
basis.
the podcast.
Yeah.
He's
He lives
perhaps
in
the
my
most
garage.
fearless. Yeah. It's in the mind of your garage, or your garage's mind. I'm not sure which one.
There's some legendary sightings of him at that Gelson's.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's great. I hope he's happy.
Yeah.
He won Best Director and Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
What do you
Did
think
you guys
he's
know
going
that?
to do next? Any rumors? 63 minutes into this
8
podcast.
Mile 2?
I thought it was strange that you didn't take him when your makeup a movie studio thing.
I thought about it.
Okay.
I thought about it. He's and we did get some feedback. No mention of Nolan. So did you know the listeners were frustrated by a lack of respect for Christopher Nolan? A little old.
Oh, ageism. Okay.
You know,
yeah, you walked in here so hyped because Coppola is getting distribution finally.
Yeah.
Listen,
but that was when I had on my studio
the
executive
more
hat.
that you need to open your heart.
Do you
to
know
the
what's
power
changed since
of-
then?
What?
You putting a bunch of warm, fingerprint-laden gummy bears in front of Sean.
I'm near death
Sex.
because of the way in which you've poisoned me with soap bears. This is deranged material. Chris Nolan.
I
We got a
agree. I
mixed
put
history.
too many gummy bears in the cup. Okay, like
I was just looking.
It was a scoop situation, and I didn't.
We're
I
gonna
didn't
have to
think through
fumigate
it.
this room after we're done recording in here. I've got 2 picks.
So you picked...
I haven't picked anything yet.
Oh, okay.
I need Misunderstood, Oscar nominee.
Would you like
and
me to
Wild
fill
Card.
this time right now while you think?
No.
Okay.
I will take an Oscar nominee, Spirited Away, Hayao Miyazaki's masterpiece, which I mentioned earlier in this discussion.
Have you
Has
have you
Alice-
seen this?
I don't think so. Has Alice seen it yet?
No, I think we're a few years away from this.
Okay.
It's a little bit more complicated, phantasmagorical, complex. Beautiful movie. In Wildcard, I'm taking Jackass the movie. Probably the hardest I laughed.
About
in a
time.
movie.
Yeah.
About time that
It's-
it's
yeah.
been selected today.
What is that? 4th round?
Fifth for me, 5th round.
Wow.
Didn't I pick Jackass 2 like really high up in a draft once?
Yeah, you went Iron Man 3 and Jackass 2 in succession. I can't recall. Jackass the movie, it isn't actually all that different from Jackass the TV show, but what it did was it allowed you to experience the joy of Jackass the
On the
TV
big
show
screen.
with 300 people on the big screen. And it was absolutely magical. I will see every Jackass movie as long as they're putting movies in theaters. I hope they do another one.
Me too.
The one that came out 2 years ago, Chris, we had an absolute blast at. Those guys are the best.
They're unfortunately going to die on screen though. Like they're just getting older.
It's in play.
Yeah.
It's definitely in play. But the polarity of cinema, Spirited Away, Jackass the movie.
You did it.
CR, you're up.
Alrighty, well, I'm pretty happy with where I've gotten to so far. I got my Oscar, I got my blockbuster, I got my action horror thriller, and my drama. I'm pretty confident that no one's going to take my Misunderstood. So in Wild Card, I will take... I'll take The Ring, which I just loved. I love this Gore Verbinski's
Great movie.
remake of a classic Japanese horror film. This one with Naomi Watts. Great, like kind of overqualified for the role, but does a really good job as this mother who's worried that her son is going to be killed by a mythical videotape in 7 days. So she has to solve the mystery. Another great Brian Cox performance in this one. Did you ever see this one?
No, but now I'm very concerned about menacing videotapes.
This is an argument
Yeah.
against physical media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it? Sometimes people got to die.
Yeah.
We got to thin the herd.
Yeah.
We got to show them these tapes.
Just won't ever forget the cold open kill of this film, or some of the more horrific moments in it. And the girl crawling out of the well is still one of the iconic horror
Out of
images.
the TV
Yes.
and in the direction of Martin Henderson that was a real wow,
Yeah.
holy fuck moment.
Amber Tamblyn is the woman in the beginning.
That sounds right. I haven't seen this in a while. My beloved Gore Verbinski.
Was he the first interview on this show?
I think he was. I think Mike Mills was first.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
For 20th Century Women.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Amanda, you're up.
I have 2 picks. I have Misunderstood and Wild Card, which are really, in my case, sort of the same thing.
Mm.
I am going to pick 2 films that reflect who I was in 2002, which was just, frankly, an idiot. They are both romantic comedies.
Okay.
This is kind of the last gasp. It's not really, because as you mentioned, 2003 is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And then there's like the whole Katherine Heigl of it all in the mid 2000s. But those didn't speak to me in the same way. So this was the last time I was really locked in and consuming these movies over and over again. So I've seen both of these movies upwards of 30 times, at least.
I honestly don't know what you're going to say.
In Misunderstood, aka Sub 60 on Rotten Tomatoes, with a score of 38%, it's Sweet Home Alabama, starring Reese Witherspoon.
Just absolutely not.
I mean, listen, do you want to know how many times I've seen this objectively terrible movie?
I kind of have a question for
So
you, but I
many
really
times.
don't want to
Yeah.
upset you.
Yeah,
Do you think that Reese Witherspoon might be evil?
she could be.
Because I saw her talking about her book club,
Yeah.
and she was like, it's important that like basically no one be challenged and like these books wind up like with an affirmative overall message. And I was like, that's not really the point of literature, which I think is totally fine for her to,
Listen,
but with her
the
stranglehold on
the book
literature.
clubs and also literature in general are in like truly the worst place ever. I mean, it's really, really, really bad out there.
Yeah.
And I blame a lot of, like, worse than movies.
Yeah.
And I blame the influence of the book clubs, but also just they're just publishing stuff that I certainly don't want to read.
Sure.
You think we need to get back to like Cheever, Updike,
Yeah.
the Great American White
Exactly.
Men, William
Right.
Styron. You know, just
Yes.
let
You
those
know, my
guys
favorite.
Let
drink
those
all
guys
day.
sleep with their students.
Yeah. Let them abuse their privilege. Let
but-
them write mellifluously about cheating on their wives and drinking a handle of vodka at 9 a.m.
Absolutely. You know, that's what built this country. But what she's saying is like reflects the general publishing
Sure.
strategy right now, and also then all of those movies just become Apple TV shows.
They sure do.
So
The question was, is Reese Witherspoon evil?
She also did a Nicole Kidman like Lifetime Achievement speech
Right.
where she was kind of like, Nicole Kidman like got us Andrea Arnold, and I fucking nixed that. Like, she didn't really say that, but she was like, Nicole like is really good at finding new directors
Right.
and watches everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just a simple
Yeah.
girl.
And I
don't-
married an agent.
Right.
Yeah. And then when
I mean, are you familiar with Draper James?
who's that?
That is Reese Witherspoon's clothing line, which is inspired by her upbringing in Tennessee and just features a lot of gingham. And her Instagram presence for it is like all of those like letterboards.
Yeah.
You know? What? But I'm painting a
I get
picture.
it.
You know exactly,
exactly
what I
what
am
you're saying.
talking about,
Yeah.
you know? So she knows her audience. Funnily enough, watch me segue. She also plays a fashion designer in Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay.
And
Good job.
she's marrying Patrick Dempsey, who is the son-in-law of Candace Bergen, who is the mayor of New York. You remember this? And he
do.
shuts down Tiffany's to propose to her.
Oh wow.
And then but she's secretly married to Josh Lucas, her
That's right.
hometown sweetheart.
Hate
And
when
so
that
she has
happens.
to go home to Alabama.
Yeah.
And, you know, then ultimately she gets... This is up there with The Notebook in terms of, wow, you like really, really feel for the guy who gets lost at the altar. Like Patrick, she probably should have just married Patrick Dempsey,
Right.
just like Rachel McAdams. Like James Marsden, well, I mean, I guess he owned plantations, so that's bad.
No plantations
You
in
know,
play in Sweet Home Alabama.
No, this is
Hard to
actually
believe.
everything about this is really racially and culturally sensitive.
Oh, I'll bet.
yeah,
for sure.
it really reflects well. No, I'm
Definitely.
and
Did
I'm
Spike Lee direct this as well?
just kidding. It's listen, it there's a reason it's 38%. I have seen it so many times.
Mhm.
And it is one of the better Reese Witherspoon rom-coms. And it's one of the better, well, listen,
One of the better fascistic wars.
4 Christmases.
I love Four Christmases.
Okay, what's the James L. Brooks one that she did?
How do you know?
How do you know?
Well, she's a softball player, right?
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
The one with Tom Hardy and Chris Pine.
This means war.
This means war. See, I saw all of these in theaters, by the way. Just to say,
Seems like a little bit of a Reese Witherspoon issue, if you ask me.
Have we talked about Marion Cotillard being on Morning Show season 4 yet?
You and I have talked about it in ways that I don't feel are appropriate for this podcast, but I hope that they really lean into what Marion Cotillard is bringing.
Is she playing a conspiratorial journalist of some sort?
We don't know yet.
Okay. That would be a good opportunity for an
also,
event.
but Juliana Margulies is not returning.
Yes, I saw that.
So
may have run out of road with that character.
Right. But so maybe Reese Witherspoon's character has a new romantic interest in Marion Cotillard.
I see.
And then they...
Reese Witherspoon's character on that show is a lesbian?
Mm-hmm. And was in a relationship with Juliana Margulies, who's playing like gay Diane Sawyer.
Okay.
And
that's actually the name of my monograph.
And they spent the whole pandemic together. And like in Juliana Margulies' home in Montana, and they like did the broadcast side by side.
But
it was
then
like
Reese Witherspoon leaves to cover
people.
January 6th.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Reese Witherspoon leaves to cover January 6th.
And then spoiler alert, if you don't want to know, when she's covering Jan 6, she gets a video of a rioter, attacking a cop. Sorry.
A freedom fighter? What?
I mean, listen,
from the woman who brought you Sweet Home Alabama comes the freedom fighters of January 6th.
So it's like there's a rioter, but he's attacking a cop. So and then it's her brother, and he's unmasked to be her brother. And so then she deletes the video, and then hackers take over the morning show, and they find the deleted footage, and they hold Corey, aka Billy Crudup, not our Corey. But Billy Crudup.
That'd be amazing. Corey McConnell.
Stunning turn of events.
But they hold him.
Did someone ask you to do this? Like, what do you think happened here?
He started it. He brought it up.
Sorry.
I think you have another pick.
Oh my God! Really?
What did I do to you today?
Nothing. I just think.
What did I do?
This is just. You're doing a
you
great job.
You got 25th hour.
I did. I'm fine.
I brought energy.
You did.
Listen.
This is like the third gummy bear has kicked in. Okay. And you're distinguishing between protests.
So wait. So one more thing that I wanted to say about Sweet Home Alabama. No. So
please,
Josh,
by all means.
Do you remember this? Josh Lucas is like a artist, quote unquote, but the art that he makes is waiting for lightning to strike sand.
Oh, yeah.
And then he like digs up the crystal, like whatever the alchemy between the lightning and the electricity and the sand is, and it makes these glass sculptures.
Yeah.
Like, is that a real thing? Can you do that?
I don't host Science Corner. This is literally your job.
I wonder
like,
if that
should
would
we just
that
be
seems
camping
like
out waiting for lightning to hit the
that seems
beaches?
Dangerous,
Right, it does. I mean, that's,
very
but
if we can keep going
he's the
with
dangerous choice, but he's the one she really loves, Sean.
Seems like a Aristotelian examination of
if
dramatics.
Twisters does well, I think we could probably spin off some sort of like the lightning artist.
Okay.
You know,
there we go.
A guy who chases
an
lightning.
archetype of the dangerous man.
He's building with me. You
Yes, and
you have nothing.
It's not true. I continue along. You have another pick,
okay,
though.
Sure. In
I'm
Wild Card, I will
gently...
take another romantic comedy starring Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant, two of my faves. It's 2 weeks' notice.
Never seen it.
I don't think I have either.
Oh, this is actually underrated. This is, I mean, I guess I should have switched them, but this is...
Somebody's not in a coma in this one, right?
No, that is While You Were Sleeping, which is one of Juliet's favorites.
2 weeks' notice is also eligible and misunderstood.
It is. It's at 59%, but because
42%, 59 audience score.
Wow, the audience is very wrong. Well, Sweet Home Alabama was lower, so I put it in misunderstood. And then 2 weeks' notice is genuinely good. And you know how there are those online campaigns to like edit the rat out of the end of The Departed?
Yes.
We should do literally one of those, but edit Donald
put
Trump.
The rat in this movie?
No.
This movie features Donald Trump.
There's a Donald Trump cameo of this, but we need to edit it out.
Interesting that you'd be interested in this and that storyline from the morning show. And wow, it's a film about Alabama.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Kind of interesting. Were there any statues in Sweet Home Alabama?
don't think so. This movie has some other problematic issues, including that Sandra Bullock is Hugh Grant's lawyer, and then they like fall in love, but he's not respectful in a professional way. Like he doesn't treat his employees very well.
Okay.
I would say, because he's just like an entitled, like he is also playing like a Donald Trump-esque.
He's a billionaire
character,
yeah.
yes, who has like a lot of real estate and doesn't make a lot of sense and doesn't take things seriously until Sandra Bullock, his in-house counsel, who is trying to save the community center in Coney Island or thereabouts, and who is like a real do-gooder. She agrees to work for him in order to save the community center. And then
we don't recap the entire film when we draft a movie on the pod. I don't know if you've been picking up on the previous 3,000 choices.
So she.
To be fair, I did do a fair amount of
Lord
of
and
the
you haven't
Rings,
seen
Two
it.
Towers
So
recapping.
I'm trying to bring you up to speed.
Because I asked.
I'm trying to bring you up to speed. So,
Thank you.
and I'm trying to tell you all the ways that this movie hasn't aged well. So she agrees to work for him, like to save her one thing, but then she's compromising her principles in other ways. And then also, you can't really be starting a relationship with your employees. So that's bad. And then also there's this running thing where she like is a compulsive overeater and just orders like a tremendous amount of Chinese food. And that's like the last joke of the movie. Anyway, problematic, but they have great chemistry. And
Sounds really good.
It's honestly, it's pretty good. So if you haven't seen it, we'll just edit out some of the issues. And I recommend 2 weeks notice. Yeah.
Will you also be drafting Birth of a Nation here and just editing out the issues that don't work?
I mean, this is the problem. All romantic comedies pre-2015, if you really want to boil them down, they're
about Trump.
They're like illegal. Yeah.
Why do you think
they're
that
conservative? Because, they're about upholding
men's ideas of what women want.
and traditional notions of relationships and the family, and also women have to fall down until they find love, like literally, and then it works out. You
think that's true? You think women should suffer before
no, I
being
think
able to feel
around
your love?
Locked Up, it changes over, and it's like the men who are need to be lifted up by a woman.
So where are we now?
We don't make romantic comedies.
Yeah, no sex is where we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Except for Glenn and Sydney.
And right, and Presumed Innocent,
yeah,
apparently.
and Jake and the Worst Person in the World.
I'm going to check that out.
Not a lot of comedy in Presumed Innocent so far, just putting that out there. Just based on one episode, fairly dire circumstances.
There's sex in Hitman too.
There is.
And comedy.
There is a lot of sex and comedy. Chris, you have one more selection.
For my misunderstood, I'm going to pick State Property.
Wow.
So this is a movie starring most of the roster of Rockefeller Records.
Wow.
At the time, one of the central preoccupations of my life was Jay-Z. And I always remembered that the first significant thing I did after 9/11 was go see the Jay-Z tour in Philadelphia and write about it for 360 Hip Hop.
Sounds right.
For John Caramonica.
A real one forever.
And
they can never take that away from you.
No.
No matter what they say about you. You always did that.
What else would they say about me?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what they'll say about Amanda.
Treason.
Yeah, she was interested in tearing down our democracy based on her movie choices.
State Prop is mostly focused on Beanie Siegel. He's the star of this. This is a movie that has, I think, like 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. But sometimes you just got to go with the one you watched a lot. And I watched State Property quite a bit back in the early 21st century.
On DVD?
Yeah, I think I bought it at like 14th Street. Yeah.
Sounds right.
So I love this movie loosely about Junior Black Mafia, but not really.
Can I ask you a life question about 2002 that I was hoping would come up before now?
Sure.
Was the Greyhound still around in 2002?
I mean, I think it was alive, yes.
Yeah, but was it in your life?
Not as much. No,
okay.
No.
All right. You had a Greyhound
I
for a while?
I had a relationship in which there was also a Greyhound in play.
Yeah.
The dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like the bar, the Greyhound in Los Angeles.
No.
You had a period in your life where you were proximate to a Greyhound?
Yeah. Yeah.
And why is that of note?
I don't know. She thinks this is like a charming characteristic of me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You adopted it in the late 2001.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which I always think of. I was like, there's the timing of events. And then I was just wondering whether...
It was still around at this time,
okay.
yeah.
And then, yeah.
But not so much in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the dog pass on?
No, I just was not with the woman that we adopted the greyhound
You were with
together.
a woman. Oh, my.
Did we know each other in 02?
We did not. We did not.
Not yet.
No. That's when you stopped knowing women, is when you met me. I filled the void. Okay. Speaking of filling the
Do
void.
you think State Prop's a good pick?
I love it. It's very you, and I definitely watched it multiple times, and I was like, this is pretty cool, even though it's very bad. But I'm glad that Beanie Siegel got to be the star of a major motion picture because he deserves it, and he deserves everything. I'm taking The Rules of Attraction.
I was thinking about
former
this.
guest of this show, Roger Avery, wrote and directed an adaptation of the Bret Easton Ellis novel. This is a
sick film.
A really, really cool movie. It is a little bit evil, and it is like very acidic in its portrayal of college life.
Shannon Sossaman is in this.
The great Shannon Sossaman. The greatest 2 for 2 of my adolescence is Shannon Sossaman in 2002 appearing in this film and in 40 Days and 40 Nights. I'm not sure if there's been a hotter person when I was in my late teens, early 20s than Shannon Sossaman. James Van Der Beek going hard against type away from Dawson.
Kip Pardue, I had a lot of stock.
Incredible Kip Pardue montage in this movie of his journey to Europe.
Roger Avery like self-financed his trip to Europe and like they shot like it was like a documentary.
Yes. Very, very fun. Very, very crazy movie. Probably not like looked upon as safe in 2024, but I think you can get it on Blu-ray.
Okay.
I really liked this movie when it came out. It was on HBO all the time.
Yeah.
And I dig it.
You a Bret Easton Ellis fan?
Somewhat, yeah.
I'm excited for the Shards.
Sure.
Though
it was originally going to be a Luca.
Who's
experience?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and then he's not doing it anymore. And I would have really been interested in that.
Bringing it full circle, Bret Easton Ellis also just seems tremendously rational in the Bratz documentary. I was like, they should have just he should just went straight to Bret Easton Ellis and been like, explain this to me, because he really had a handle on the narrative.
That's the thing, is it doesn't seem like he checked with anyone first.
Yes. Yes. It's totally true. He was like, I have an idea and I'm headed out on the road, which is kind of how this podcast has gone. Amanda didn't really check beforehand.
Of course I did. I've seen
but
every
she's
single
honestly,
movie.
I bet you're happy with your picks.
They reflect my 2002
Nobody
movie
picked
going
Gangs
experience.
of New York. Where you still have another one?
Nope, I'm all done.
So we're all done and nobody picked Gangs of New York.
Nobody took Gangs of... I mean, there are quite a few films.
Nobody took The Hours.
Nobody took Spider-Man. Nobody took Signs.
Nobody took 8 Mile.
I mean, Y Tu Mamá también is a big oversight.
Do you know, can I tell you something? It's almost impossible to watch. I mean, unless...
Not if you come to my house.
Okay, well, I was not going to come to your house at 9 o'clock last night because like Judd Nelson, you just wouldn't answer the phone.
I fucked up. I forgot to take something. Although it speaks to its weird genre designation.
Was it Narc?
No, it's 24-hour party people.
Yeah, that was another one on my list.
Anyway,
Y Tu Mamá también not streaming?
I believe it's available on IFC, but like not if you have IFC through AMC. I mean, I was in like streaming rights hell for 20 minutes, and I haven't seen it in 15 years. So
great film.
Yeah, I really wanted to rewatch it.
It's a big
last
oversight.
night.
How do you feel about the cast of Y Tu Mamá también reuniting for a Boys spinoff called Boys Mexico?
The Boys, the TV show?
Yeah.
The two guys are also,
I think,
the actress as well.
Oh no, just the guys.
I love them both, so I would watch it. I haven't really been keeping up with The Boys though. Seems like its 4 seasons been good. Are you watching it?
I haven't watched the 4th yet.
Okay. Far From Heaven.
Yeah.
Todd Haynes film. Undrafted. Really like that movie. 8 Mile.
I rewatched much of it last night. I forgot that was Anthony Mackie at the end.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Clarence.
Yeah.
Yeah. You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. Yeah.
The Sum of All Fears. I saw that in the theater.
All right.
You saluted at the end of it.
Well,
thank you, Tom Clancy.
It's a pretty dark movie.
Is it?
A nuke goes off in Baltimore, and Morgan Freeman is the president, and he gets killed, and then Jack Ryan becomes president, right? Am I remembering this correctly?
And also Ben Affleck is Jack Ryan, so he becomes the president?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck becomes president in The Sum of All Fears?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Do you think that Ben Affleck himself would make a good president?
Relative to the present competition? I think it'd be an interesting... That is a debate I would watch.
Me too.
Big Ben,
Trump,
Sleepy
Affleck,
Joe, and Donald?
Biden.
I would watch that debate. I've watched Ben Affleck debate people on Real Time with Bill Maher. I've enjoyed it every time.
Yeah.
Would you vote for Ben Affleck?
As an independent or a Dem?
I mean, he'd have to run as an independent this year. He's got the. I mean, he's got the mold of a person who would run for president.
Yes.
No, just like no one wants to get anywhere near.
Is there anything else that we forgot?
I'm still reading the Sum of All Fears Wikipedia, trying to find out if he becomes president.
Did you like the movie The Sweetest Thing?
Not really.
I think Signs is a pretty big oversight.
Signs is a big
Yeah.
I really like Signs.
I prefer The Village. Is that weird?
No, I think they're both good.
Are we going to do some M. Night stuff?
For Trap,
Yeah.
you saw what they did.
Yeah, that now it's on vacation. I'll wait. It's okay.
They moved it up a week to fuck you.
But I made a whole big
I
thing.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
But now it's
It literally felt like they listened to the pod and then the next day they're like, you know what? Fuck him.
well, now it is quite literally, it's my birthday movie. So
That is nice. I saw that.
yeah.
I'll be back for that Tuesday episode. So we can do it for after the weekend.
Don't rush. You should take a break.
Well, I am. Thank you for saying that. I am.
Just take care of yourself.
But then I'm taking another break later in the summer.
Yeah.
To do what? Like go to movie festivals? It's not the same thing.
No. I don't know. I'm gonna go. My family and I are gonna go somewhere. I don't know where.
Okay.
But we're gonna take another week at the end of August before I go to the film festivals. There's a chance I'm going to Telluride, TIFF, and New York.
I love that for you.
For me, it will be fun. For my wife, not so fun.
Yeah.
I don't think that will be ideal for her.
You can't bring your daughter to Telluride?
I still think you guys should. And I will try to.
Yeah, I couldn't convince her. I do think maybe at 4, I think it will be more achievable. No naps. They can go hiking together. She would enjoy that. Alice would like that.
Yeah, but no naps means more time
Childcare
taking
time?
care of a child.
There's also sitters there.
yeah.
There's like whole because a lot of people go with their whole families for
Right.
the festival and then they just dump their kids off, which I think is kind of cruel, but I get why they do it.
Guess who owns that sitter service? National, baby.
That's why you're the GOAT right there. You did it. Any other
Yeah,
Zhang Yimou's
I just want to
hero?
let you know my misunderstood long list. State prop.
Yep.
K-19 The Widowmaker, right on that 60% line.
Let me tell you something right now. Tried to watch it a few years ago. Unwatchable.
Catherine Bigelow.
So boring.
Who just got cast in the Catherine Bigelow movie for Netflix? Idris Elba and
I
someone where I
know
was
what
like,
you're
"Holy
talking about,
shit."
but
it's about nukes headed for America, right?
Yeah, I think it's specifically what if there was a nuclear attack aimed at the White House, and it's Rebecca Ferguson and Idris Elba.
oh, sick.
To which I say thank
Absolutely.
The other one was Ghost Ship.
you. Ghost Ship also stinks, but I respect you.
Ghost Ship has a sick kill.
Does it?
Yeah, the wire going across the top of the ship.
I know exactly what you're
They
talking
bit that
about.
for 3 body
Is
problem.
it Jan de Bont?
Yeah, Margulies, Eldred.
Okay. You have a bunch of misunderstoods?
Not a bunch of misunderstoods, but My Big Fat Greek Wedding was the 5th most popular film of this year.
Never understood this.
It made $241 million domestically.
Yes.
I rewatched it last night thinking, oh, it'll definitely be in the Amanda bag. And I was like, absolutely not. After 20 minutes.
I thought it was really bad then.
Yeah.
And I haven't revisited
No, thank
it.
you.
Never saw it.
Misunderstood. Reign of Fire. Matthew McConaughey rides a dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good. 40 Days and 40 Nights I mentioned. Austin Powers in Gold Member.
Right. That was.
I like gold. Right. That happened.
That's Beyonce,
That's
right?
Beyonce, right?
Beyonce.
Yeah, I saw that one in theaters. I definitely saw 40 Days and 40 Nights in theaters, speaking of Josh
100%.
Hartnett.
That's where
Me
Josh
too.
Hartnett can't nut, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For 40 Days and 40 Nights.
I mean, he can,
But
but
he's trying
That's
not
the
to.
letterbox
Yeah.
synopsis. Yeah. Josh Hartnett can't nut for 40 days and 40 nights. See you at the movies. Swim fan?
Oh, yeah.
So I watched The Upside of Anger last night, which is the Joan Allen, Kevin Costner movie that I'd never seen before, where they both just get super drunk. They're like, we're 48. Let's drink a lot. Great premise for a movie. Erica Christensen, absolutely smoking hot in that movie. Beautiful. Swim fan, it's not very good. I wish it was better. It's kind of like Fatal Attraction in a pool, but if you were 19.
I've rethought, because like I really held a lot of what I didn't like about Traffic against Erica Christensen. And I just want America to know that I've rethought that position.
You think that plot line works?
No.
Yeah, that's the worst plot line in the movie. But she's good. She's
good.
a very good actor.
Yeah.
Marie-
If Traffic was just about Benicio.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, you got to have Michael Douglas in there, though.
And Catherine Zeta-Jones is really good into it.
Was Blue Crush a thing for you guys?
I never saw it.
I
enjoyed Kate Bosworth.
Yeah,
though.
Kate Bosworth, but it was like teen surfing, and I think we all saw it and we're like, oh, I guess we should all like become surfers now and try to be like Kate Bosworth.
Had a funny experience. Went to the beach with my family for like an end of the year thing for my daughter's school, and when we got out to the beach where it was organized, it was at the Topanga Beach in Malibu. There were like hundreds of surfers. Like on 11 a.m. And I was talking to one of the dads, and I was like, look at all these surfers. This is crazy. And he's like, yeah, I've surfed here hundreds of times. I was like, oh, geez. Like, if you're a native Angelino, you're raising your kids and sending them to the school that I'm sending Alice to, of course you're a surfer. And this guy was like, yeah, I've crushed these waves hundreds of times. I was like, I'm just a guy who reads books about guys who do that.
But you've never really said, like, I thought you were, like, have no interest in surfing.
No, I have surfed. I have surfed a few times.
But he doesn't like the beach or the ocean.
I don't like the beach. I love the ocean. I hate the beach. I don't like sand.
Right.
I'm against sand.
One more reason for us to go to the Mediterranean for the film festivals next season.
Okay.
Because the sand, it's, rocky and less sand. And
I like
usually they
beach.
take you on a boat and just deposit you right in the water and you swim.
I love swimming in the ocean.
Okay.
I suspect my child really is going to want to go to the beach a lot.
I was actually going to invite you guys to the beach this weekend.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
See you there.
Okay.
And by see you there, I mean my wife and Alice will see you there. Any other movies? Moonlight Mile. That's a movie I kind of like.
What's that one about?
Did you see Lilo and Stitch?
Never seen it. Was going to show it to Alice because they're doing next year a live action.
It's cute. I saw it.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. It eluded me because I was in college.
Jason 10. Jason in Space.
Jason X. I don't really like Jason X.
Me neither.
About a boy?
I never really.
Steven Soderbergh's Solaris.
I like that he tried.
I think it's underrated, but not great.
The first hour is very good.
Yes,
and
agreed.
I think that the second hour is not to my taste.
Natasha McElhone, a little bit of Black Licorice for me. Can't really get into her.
Oh, she's really good in Ronin.
What about? Do you know what was one of the biggest movies of this year? A phenomenon, really, was Bowling for Columbine.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see that? It's about gun control in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I did at some point, but
I actually don't know if I did.
Because you didn't agree with its message? Or?
Oh, God. This is how do you feel about this one? This pod?
Mixed bag. Imagine if I was like, and now let's go to my conversation with the corpse of Akira Kurosawa. What's the only way to follow this up to make it even more weird? Thanks for everything. Amanda, thank you.
I don't think that was very sincere.
And that's not true. Thanks so much for showing up today, for being here, for drafting films.
I had a good time with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, I know that I was just a little more on like an Amanda world, but
that's okay.
I
Chris,
have my interests.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You do. You do have your interests. You're holding fast to them. They include statues and Donald Trump films. Chris, what do you got cooking up? Talk the Thrones is back?
Talk the Thrones is back Sunday nights after the episodes of House of the Dragon. You can find that on the House of R audio feed, and you can find that on the Ringerverse YouTube feed. And also, if you're listening to this and you're in Los Angeles, I'll be appearing at the Ringer NBA Show's live show, the El Rey Theater on Tuesday, June 18th.
Well, so you're going straight from Horizon to...
I have a long day tomorrow. I'm doing Bandsplain Horizon live show.
I wish I'd known that because I did sort of like bully you into going to see
Nobody
Horizon
bullied me
with
into seeing Horizon.
That's true, but
will you be joining for the Horizon episode?
Well, if I'm not, I won't go to Horizon tomorrow because I'll just spare myself.
I don't even remember if you're.
He's
on
the spreadsheet.
Then you're invited.
I'm on. The most important thing is I'm on Bike Riders on Thursday.
Yes, our next episode will be a discussion of the film Bike Riders. Also, Kinds of Kindness, which I don't think you will have seen by then, right?
I will not have seen that.
But you should just pontificate about it anyway.
I might. Is it a funny bit if I'm just like no more Yorgos for the rest of my life?
You road tested this with Mio a couple of weeks ago. I think it's funny. I think you should go after it.
Do you think it's funny?
I'm open to it.
Okay. All right.
Did you ever see Poor Things, or you were at?
I did not.
You never
I watched
watched
the first 10 minutes of it on Hulu, and then I stopped.
Why?
Why did I start it, or why did I stop?
Was it too bracing?
I was
for
like,
you?
I got it. I know.
You know that the life of a woman's mind is more complex than you could possibly fathom.
I do this pod with her. How could I possibly ever have that misunderstanding?
Yeah. Poor Things, more like rich men. Am I right? That's not what. Thanks to Alea Veneris. Thanks to our producer, Bobby Wagner, for his work on this episode and for your infinite patience with this show. We are talking about the bike riders. Have you seen the bike riders yet?
I'm seeing it on Wednesday.
Okay, very
It's
exciting.
a very big week for me and
Seeing
dudes
films about
exploring
men.
the American West in various ways.
Is there a third?
No, but
Okay.
you know.
We got to get you into long legs. That's the next move.
Okay.
Get you into long legs.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Speaking of exploring the American West. We'll see you later this week.